This episode sponsored by Homebase. Homebase is built for small businesses trying to do it all: the neighborhood coffee shop, the local gym, the family-run restaurant. With Homebase, you can schedule your team, track time, run payroll, and manage hiring from one easy app, so you can spend less time chasing timesheets and more time running the business your customers love. More than 150,000 small businesses already use Homebase to keep their teams on track. Start free at joinhomebase.com. Homebase, built for small businesses that do it all.
Most people don't realize how much their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions, pulling details about you from public records and the internet, and then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance, all backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might sell just credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together, at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/remove. Protect yourself now at aura.com/remove.
It's a great day at the Randomness of Nothing podcast. I have a very acclaimed guest today, Joshua Altman of Beltway Media Co., fractional CCO, strategist, and helps both the public and private sector with their communication strategies and their outreach as well. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you for having me.
It's an honor. You know, you really have a very varied background. You were a journalist on the Hill. You have your own media consulting firm. Please, can you give me some insight into how your career launched off and how you segued into this particular sector of work?
By accident. Like you said, I started as a journalist. I was a multimedia producer, so doing video, audio, web production, front end and back end, interactivity. And then I thought I would go leave a newsroom, freelance as a journalist for a few years, then go back to a newsroom couple, 3-4 years later. Never went back to a newsroom. While I was looking for those freelance reporting jobs, I was also taking on corporate jobs.
Yeah.
And through that, I found there was a need with these smaller medium businesses and with startups for this communications function. But they needed it and not pay $50,000 a month large agency retainer. They needed someone who had background with video, who had background with content and strategy and writing and web, and who could bring all that together at a price these businesses could afford. Over time, that grew into our fractional chief communications officer.
That's amazing. So you have also worked, obviously you started as a journalist and you were on, Washington, D.C., and then you segued into both the public and the private sector. And I've seen you've also worked with the Department of Justice, the Chamber of Commerce. What's the difference between the public sector versus the private sector in their communication strategies?
So we've been consultants and contractors with the federal government, not with the Chamber of Commerce.
I apologize.
We've been members there, so you might want to edit this part.
Gotcha.
And the biggest difference is speed. Government moves a lot slower, as people probably expect, than a 3, 4, 5-person startup.
Gotcha. What's the frustration?
There are a lot of reasons for that.
Okay. I'd love to hear.
There's some very good reasons for that. But it also does change the cadence and the way you do things.
Got it. Do you find yourself, because of how the message gets disseminated from the public versus the private sector, there's probably multiple layers. The message has to be curated in a certain manner, as opposed to that startup that really just wants to be ambitious and sell a product or a service or onboard clients?
It's very different. At the startups, they want to move fast. Sometimes they want to move too fast. We come in and we work with people on their story, their narrative, and their brand. It's one of our main 2 frameworks that we use with businesses. It's one of the first things we do when we come in. And they are already usually at that brand stage. They have a lot and they haven't thought about how they built it.
Right.
And that's that story and narrative step. Government has spent 200 years working on those things. So when a startup wants to start pushing out content, pushing out sales collateral, getting all that stuff to onboard new clients, a lot of times it's about taking a step back and saying, what is that story? What narrative are we telling? Why are people doing this? Our big focus is on shaping perception and building and maintaining trust. All purchase decisions come down to trust.
Do you
Some
find
are
it?
big trust,
Yeah.
some are smaller trust, but that's the core.
That's amazing. And so when startups, because of their ambitiousness, because of their eagerness, is communications usually their weakest point, because you typically have people who are creators, who are engineers, who are software and sales guys, but they miss kind of that, well, how are you going to make sure that this is marketed in the right way? And do they have really, like, I don't want to say amateur, but very bare bones experience actually figuring this situation out themselves?
They come from engineering backgrounds. They come from business backgrounds in finance, whatever it is. And communications is probably one of the last functions they think about. They think about sales, certainly, but communications, marketing are not part of sales. They are very closely related,
right,
but they are distinct from each other. And they don't necessarily think about how that communications function applies to across the entire business. Right. And that's why we come in when they're at that brand stage and they haven't thought about that story and that narrative.
It's fascinating too, because everybody is in this era where they want their voices to be heard. And there's a lot of visibility, especially with social media, viral clips. But is it cognizant to make sure that there's a moment that lasts beyond that for branding? Because it's very important to have a sustainable business outcome as a startup, as a founder, that you have. Is that something that is a moment in time for these people, or they have to continually learn it themselves? And how does that process work to make sure that an Instagram clip is not a long-term strategy for your communications business?
If you're counting on one viral Instagram clip propelling you to $1 billion valuation, theoretically it can happen. Statistically, the odds are very, very weighed against you in this situation.
For sure.
One viral clip can happen and propel you, but a lot of those viral moments are pay for play. They're manufactured, they're engineered.
Right.
These are people who've bought the ad time, they paid for the placement, and you can of course do that. Right. If you're counting on it organically, this isn't 2010 anymore.
Without question.
It doesn't work in that same way. Those organic clips can take off as much as they do. Do they? Yes, it happens. It's not the same way it worked 15, 16 years ago. But if you do get that viral clip, or you do, pay and manufacture that situation, which is something many companies do, you have to then take advantage of it and use it. Take what you've gained from that moment and then use it to go forward. So take the followers that you've gained, take the audience that you've gained, and show them the reason why you exist, what you are solving.
Right.
Why they should put their trust in you.
Now, when you're communicating about a company that's a startup, and then I'd love to get into the nuts and bolts of how the onboarding process also starts and everything like that. But a lot of processes companies have very easily cannot be duplicated. Somebody sees something that was successful and somebody immediately piggybacks and creates something new. What's the process to keep that company innovative that may have been first or was foremost, and then they suddenly have 4 and 5 and 6 competitors in that exact same lane?
Trust is that big differentiator. That is where people will make their decision. Sometimes being first helps with that. Sometimes being third helps with that. And sometimes that's just the luck of the market,
right,
where you might get that because you're the first one, or people are now already familiar with the ecosystem and numbers 3 and 4 do really well. That's just going to be how that goes. If you do have it, maintain it. Show why. And if your product is better, one, and give people that reason to trust you with the solution, whatever that solution is.
Yes.
Rivian, these new car companies, people love them. People are buying the cars. High trust purchase, right? But they're not the long time incumbents in the market. So sometimes being new in that regard really helps. They gave buyers a reason to make the switch, to trust them.
And, the appeal of things and the ability for somebody to be a new entry into a market can simply be the appeal unto itself, right? Because it's something different. Because in general speaking terms, companies can get complacent like a Blockbuster, where you just assume that your clientele base will always show up. So they never innovated their core business model, even when the technology was changing around them in real time. And then by the time they tried to pivot, it was far too late. So now if there's the onboarding process, you're a client, you're a startup, you have a product, and you're like, barrier to entry is high and success and failure rates are very high as well too. What's the onboarding process like and taking some things off of people's plate?
That's the primary thing we do is companies are usually doing this function, but it's being done by people who don't want to do it. If you're in that startup space, it's the CEO, it's the founder, it's typically a CTO or a founding engineer because they sort of just built that initial website because they were the tech person. And they got stuck with this function far longer than they ever wanted to. We take this off their plate. And you're laughing because you've seen this before, right?
No question. Yeah, definitely. 150. Because when you share hats, it's like, and I'm going to segue a bit. It's like when the spouse or the boyfriend or girlfriend has to do the thing they don't like to do, right? And then, it's like, okay, I'm cooking, but it's a terrible, you're putting people in situations where they're not going to be successful. They don't like it. And then they go back to and then they go back to doing what they like to do. And there's a big gap of this has to be done.
Exactly. And they look at this and they say, well, I'm doing this communication stuff. It's taking me like 5-10 hours a week. Well, we don't need to hire a 40-hour per week chief communications officer because it's not taking that long.
Correct.
Which is why they're still doing it themselves.
Right.
So we come in and we work you through our first framework, that story, narrative, brand. We figure out, because you're probably already at that brand stage, but we figure out what builds it. So story it's stuff. It's the way you tell your friends at the bar what happened.
Right.
It's a little disjointed. It's just facts. It's the beginning, the middle, and the present, and you order another beer.
Right.
Narrative answers questions. It connects the dots. It tells people what we want to think about the story.
Right.
And what we want them to take away. Right. Brand is the swag. It's the stuff. It's everything people connect with your company. So, of course, that's the logo and the website and the pens and the coffee mugs and the cool shirts you have at the pitch conference and all of that stuff. And that's great.
For sure.
But it's also the pitch decks. It's the website. It's hold music when people call you.
Yeah.
The way, you have a virtual assistant answering phones. It's how they answer the phone. All of that is part of the brand. And those are things people don't necessarily think of. It's every touch point stakeholders have with the company is part of your brand. And we think about all of them. And one of the ways we think about that is through our 4 languages model, which is our second of the 2 major frameworks. It's what people read, see, hear, and experience.
Got it.
What people read is kind of obvious. We kind of think of that the most is what people read. It's text.
Right.
What people see, you see a lot of what you read, not exclusively, but you see a lot of it. It's visuals, it's video, it's photos, it's infographic, it's design, layout, typography. All of that is what you see.
Yeah.
What you hear, like I said, those phone greetings, the phone trees, the hold music is all part of what you hear. If you have physical locations, what you hear, that's in-store audio. It's what's playing over the speakers in the store. If you have that, and there's a lot of work being done to optimize that, not just by store chain, by store location, within aisles within stores. Across town, you'll have 2 different experiences. If they notice, those make a difference. So there's a lot of work being done on that hear experience, hear language right now, because experience and how people experience is 4th one. And people think of that as those big pitch conferences and competitions.
Of course they do.
Pop-ups and all of that, and that is part of experience. But the other half of it, and probably what we do far more often, is how we experience what we read, see, and hear. So what we're doing right now, we're doing this podcast and we're recording video.
Right.
And someone might sit and watch this as appointment viewing. That's one experience. But if you're like me, you listen to podcasts while you're driving, while you're walking the dog, while you're making dinner. That's how most people experience podcasts. That's going to be a very different way of taking in that content than if someone literally just sat and watched it as appointment viewing. So, because if you're watching it, you sit down, you turn on YouTube, you watch it, that has your full attention. Please give us your full attention. But if you're driving, please put your attention on the road. Focus on your driving, because that is where a lot of people listen to podcasts. That is where I listen to podcasts.
Absolutely.
So they're getting that same information. They're getting the same show, but 2 wildly different experiences. One we see every day is mobile versus desktop. And now that's built into a lot of, web platforms. If you use WordPress, pretty much every WordPress theme has mobile built in. compared to 10 years ago where it didn't.
Absolutely.
But how you get it is going to be different. A graphic might have to be stacked on mobile, whereas
Right.
it's horizontal on desktop.
Yes.
You're scrolling a lot more.
Right.
Well, people might say, I'm scrolling a lot, next page. I'm done.
Absolutely.
You have push alerts coming to your phone that's completely interrupting that experience. So it's very different.
Yeah. And what's amazing is that, I was going to segue into that, really that, 3 seconds, 5 seconds, that there's the availability to get attention to something now.
This episode sponsored by Homebase. Homebase is built for small businesses trying to do it all: the neighborhood coffee shop, the local gym, the family-run restaurant. With Homebase, you can schedule your team, track time, run payroll, and manage hiring from one easy app, so you can spend less time chasing timesheets and more time running the business your customers love. More than 150,000 small businesses already use Homebase to keep their teams on track. Start free at joinhomebase.com. Homebase, built for small businesses that do it all.
Most people don't realize how much their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions pulling details about you from public records and the internet, and then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance, all backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might sell just credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together, at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/remove. Protect yourself now at aura.com/remove.
Before people go to something else. And then the ability, I think some people, whatever shortened time length has been established, now you have a situation where if it doesn't capture people's imagination, you don't have the luxury of having people wait, sit around and hope to hear something or see something compelling. And that's got to be a new layer of challenges, particularly for ambitious companies that want to grab people's attention and then keep them as customers and eventually onboard clients and get sales.
It is. I mean, you have less than 3 seconds for your web page to load.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That is a very short period of time.
That's amazing.
And when you think about it, loading a lot of content in that time is hard. You really do need to optimize. If you have a video, you have to grab someone's attention right away.
Right.
You can't do that slow intro.
Right.
You have to grab it fast. And that's why we see these structures of how we create content built around that really fast 3 seconds. And then we go into something, but it's attention grabbing.
It's amazing.
Now, keeping attention's a lot harder, but in some ways it's a lot easier because you already have it.
Right.
But the way that it's harder is there are a lot of distractions.
Without question.
And if someone just gets bored of it, there's a full internet of stuff to watch or read or listen to that is there calling for you.
Yeah, it's very interesting now because even myself, that got into this space of podcasting, I find myself clicking out of something immediately because it just, even if it's interesting, I'm already thinking of something else while I'm listening or to what I'm doing in front of me, even if it's very fascinating to me. Your mind just keeps racing because you're like, well, I want to hear this next song. Even when you work out, you're already skipping halfway through the song to get to another song. You're like, oh my gosh, like I'm guilty of it. And I'm supposed to be the guy who pays attention.
And the podcast apps all have options. Would you like to play this at 1x speed, 1.25, 1.5, 1.75, 2x? How fast do you want to listen to this?
Yes.
And it's like, again, I'm on podcast. I would love you to listen to me at my normal speed. But I know people, because we've all done it, put it on 1.5.
Absolutely.
Because, well, we can. And look at how much more we can consume.
Right. Without question. Now, when you are dealing with a company that hasn't done that, or you're dealing with like founders who haven't embraced technology, communication strategies, maybe they have a successful company. Do you work with established companies or mostly with startups? Because my question was, how hard is it to get somebody to embrace this new communication strategy for the future of success. If it's a family, the father kind of did things the older way, and now the son is embracing a new technology structure, and this is kind of how things are done now going forward.
We work with both. So we work with established businesses, we work with family businesses, and we work with those startups as well. With startups, they'll embrace something new right away. They love it. Throw them an AI system and it's great. With established businesses, especially in professional services, law, finance, healthcare, things like that, it could be a lot harder.
Right.
And there are reasons for that. Professional reasons where they don't want wrong stuff going out.
Of course.
But also they're used to doing it a certain way. The industry has its standards of how we do things.
Right.
And you have to work within that, because if you don't, they're just not going to want to do anything.
Without question.
And when you see with these family businesses, a lot of times we come in because there's that conflict between one generation who's been doing it this way, another generation's coming in, they want to do it that way, they want to embrace automation, they want to embrace video. Someone says, well, what videos do we have? We're just, a hardware store.
Right.
We've got a couple of locations in our city that we have, but we're a hardware store. Well, that's great. You have tons of home DIY fix-it videos that you could show people the stuff they buy in your store. It's great. You have lots of video. But they're not thinking of it necessarily in that way because they never did it.
Absolutely. They looked at it from just an instructional standpoint, or just, the process of how they would actually assist their service, as opposed to this is my communication strategy, right?
And if you look at, in terms of, a DIY, how you'd use things company, Chemical Guys is a great example. A lot of people might know them. They have, here's how you do the thing, but here's our product to do it. Here's the spray bottle. You buy it on our website. Here's the chemical. Here's how you dilute it. You need the dilution bottle. And they show you exactly what you need to buy from them.
Absolutely.
To do it.
Right. And so,
but they're showing you the process. So if you just Google, DIY, clean my car floor mats, and they show up, yes, you're getting the how to do it, but you're also getting their sales pitch.
Correct. And not only that, though, they're establishing their brand specifically with the problem that you're looking to solve. So meanwhile,
establishing expertise, having the perspective are the two big things that people are looking for, because there are thousands, if not millions, of DIY videos on that topic.
Without question.
But they are the ones that I think of.
That's amazing.
And that's what they're going for, is the expertise and the trust. Like, okay, we know these chemicals, we know this company, we know if we use the dilution ratio, they tell us it will be safe around our kids and our pets and all of that.
Right.
Whereas some other companies selling me the product, they're just saying, well, I found this on Amazon.
Exactly.
Well,
that's not good.
What chemicals are those?
Yeah, that's not nearly good enough.
Should I be handling them? Do I need thicker gloves? Do I need eyewear?
Right. And so, they kind of just want to ultimately get views and clicks as opposed to be a trusted brand.
They're selling the ads.
Exactly.
They're selling. And again, I'm sure there are ads on their videos, but they're their ads. The whole thing is an ad for them.
Absolutely, it is. Branding all the entire time on the video. And it's coming from a trusted
And they're wearing, those, the swag. They've got the branded T-shirts and polos and all of it.
It's wonderful. That's, and the thing is about it too, is I wonder if they have a Josh in their network that made them think about making sure they did that, right? Because
with a company this size, they definitely have full-time in-house communications expertise.
Here's my interesting question for it. When you talked about those established brands, companies, healthcare, law, finance, that really have a very structured, and sometimes they can be viewed as the boogeymen in society. People have their own opinions about them. I certainly don't want to, get into that, but people have preconceived perceptions. Do you have to, when you're doing communications, keep it more straightforward of the service they provide, or do you have to kind of give it to a new generation where we're not that boogeyman, we are a service that you need? And what's the middle ground of, we're a great service, but we have to embrace kind of a casual type of situation?
It depends on the firm. Some are really going for a much more approachable, casual, we're here to answer your questions sort of thing. Some are really going for a much more traditional, keeping their distance. And we see a lot of that with the tone of the content. If it's sitting in an office behind their desk talking about legal matters, they're going for something very different from the guy doing a selfie video on the courthouse steps talking about some issue that he knows people will be searching for.
Correct.
They're both giving that same content, could be the exact same words even, but one is saying it in a very staid, traditional way, while another is much more upbeat and cheerful, and they're going and they're holding the camera out and they're sitting on a courthouse steps and they say, hey, I just got this breaking news. Here's the legal issue. Here's how it affects, it's in my practice area. Here's how it can affect you. Very different.
Exactly. So I even think sometimes of like health insurance commercials. 1 minute, obviously it's talking about a very serious health situation. Another minute, you'll see like the dad trying to be on the skateboard with the kid. And then, the next thing you see him in a sling, right? Same message. We still provide the same service, but at the same time, it's not, it's about the conveyed message and audience from the same company, no less. Right.
Yeah. Drug commercials, health commercials, they show that a lot.
Absolutely. They do. Really briefly, because I obviously want to be very conscious of your time. What's your role when you come on board? Where can people find you? They certainly don't need me because you're very accomplished with your company and all the wonderful things that you do. But just briefly, when you actually start taking those things away from people, what's that like when you and your team do that?
Usually they are quite relieved to have this off their desk.
Yeah.
There's occasionally this is our baby. I've been doing this for a while sort of thing.
Right.
It's my website. I built it. But typically that is very short-lived. They are happy to have this off their desk.
Beautiful.
Because when we're going to come in, really the first things we do are go through those two frameworks. And we're figuring that out with them. And if they're already doing a lot of stuff, we can figure out stage 2 while we're still working at stage 1, which is what they have.
Right.
We don't have to stop. Because that's a big concern people have is that we stop everything. Mm-hmm. That's not necessary. We just sort of keep that going while we're building the foundation because we can always change the schedule.
Beautiful.
We can always add things. We can always revise. That's an option. And that makes people a lot more comfortable.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And where can people find Josh Altman, Beltway Media, and all of the things that you do? You're clearly well established. Obviously, you've done wonderful things, but just for the purpose of this show.
You could find us online. Our website is beltway.media, no.com. There's a schedule link right on the website. You can also email me directly,jaltman@beltway.media, again, no.com. We are at the Comms Chief on most social media platforms. And on LinkedIn, I'm Joshua I. Altman.
I do have a quick question that I wanted to ask of you, and I forgot to ask this. How do you get people who typically haven't been in front of the camera doing communications, who are used to being behind the scenes, operating in that regard, suddenly realizing that in this digital era, your presence is very needed, or somebody on your team high level is very needed, and making them media
We
available?
find someone who's comfortable with it.
Okay.
If they're not comfortable, that shows.
Okay.
There are benefits to showing that you're not comfortable.
The McDonald's
People
CEO.
crave authenticity. That was the example I used because it works. People crave authenticity, especially with all the AI slop out there right now.
Without question.
People really want to see you. They want to see the authentic you. And if you're the McDonald's CEO and you're calling your burger a product and you don't even like holding it and you look uncomfortable, that is great because it shows who you really are, which is a corporate guy.
Did they call you after they filmed that video? Because
no, I will say I did not. I did not work with McDonald's on that.
No, I meant, did they call you?
They handled it great.
Yeah, right.
They handled it great during, before, and after because then everyone jumped on it and then they kept going. But if you are a smaller business, not McDonald's,
death sentence.
Do it.
Yeah.
You can, if you're uncomfortable, people understand that it's not a natural place for a lot of people. Show that you're a little uncomfortable.
Beautiful. That's awesome.
And be a little awkward on camera. Yeah. Stammer a little bit, stumble around. If that happens, people actually appreciate it because it shows you're more real. You don't need a perfect studio. Hollywood level production will in many ways work against you. Use your phone. Use earbuds. I mean, you still need a couple of good basics.
Yeah.
You need good lighting well enough that you can be seen. That means not blown out, not too bright, not too dark. You're not sitting in a shadow. People can see you clearly. The other is sound. People need to be able to hear you clearly. But you hit those two, and those two are pretty easy to get. Relatively inexpensive earbuds get you the sound. $30 or less light gets you being seen,
right,
and you're good.
It's not often that I get a chance to talk to somebody with the communications level that you have. So I was a little bit nervous because I'm like, I really don't have much margin for error for a guy that communicates at this high level and has his own firm. I've talked to a myriad different level of people, but never a communications, guru of your regard, right? So it's always, one of those ones you're like, not a lot of margin of error because he's going to notice certain things. So I hope that this was an enjoyable experience for you.
I'm going to have you write all my intros from now on.
Oh gosh, no! People forgot. Like he corrected me before the camera started. So before this is just so people know. But having said that, I'm very appreciative of that because I'm not perfect. I'm sure you're picking apart little things that I'm doing, but I hope that I managed to plow through this in some professional manner for you in your time on the show.
It was great. Thank you for having me.
And I look forward to having this episode released and wish you all the best with Beltway Media, Joshua Altman on the Randomness of Nothing podcast.
This episode sponsored by Homebase. Homebase is built for small businesses trying to do it all: the neighborhood coffee shop, the local gym, the family-run restaurant. With Homebase, you can schedule your team, track time, run payroll, and manage hiring from one easy app, so you can spend less time chasing timesheets and more time running the business your customers love. More than 150,000 small businesses already use Homebase to keep their teams on track. Start free at joinhomebase.com. Homebase, built for small businesses that do it all.
Most people don't realize how much their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions pulling details about you from public records and the internet, and then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance, all backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might sell just credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together, at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/remove. Protect yourself now at aura.com/remove.